Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be doing my July TBR video for you. I have an unusual TBR because every single book that I'm about to hold up is a paperback, which is like not that unusual, but it's very unusual for me. I feel like I mainly read hardcovers, but a lot of these books are ARCs and a lot of them are romance, which are typically only published in paperback. So anyway, I'm just really in the mood for a lot of like cute contemporary and love stories. I do have a couple fantasy books on here, but for the majority of July, I think I want to just keep it pretty light and read things that I'm gonna like read really quickly and get really invested in, and yeah. I'm pretty excited about this TBR that I have going here. So first, FAERIEATHON is continuing, and I'm going to be reading Valiant along with Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, Jane from It's Jane Lindsay, and Mel from Mel to the Any. So last month in June we read Tithe, and now this month in July we're going to be continuing on in the Modern Fairy Tale series and reading Valiant. I had kind of lukewarm feelings about Tithe, so I'm curious to see how I'm gonna feel about the next book, though I have heard that the series is important to have read for The Queen of Nothing. Despite not loving it yet, I'm glad that I will have the previous knowledge of Elfhame going into that final book, and I'll have it all very fresh in my memory. I will leave the breakdown below for Valiant and the live show details and everything in case you want to join us. Then I really want to read Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is a Korean-inspired fantasy, and Monica from She Might Be Monica is hosting FAERIEATHON this month, so this is definitely going to be something that I read in the beginning of the month. I think FAERIEATHON runs from June 29th to July 5th, I want to say, but I could be wrong. But this is the group book for the readathon, and I was planning on reading it anyway, so it just works out perfectly that it's going on during that time. This is like an urban fantasy novel, and it follows a girl named Mi Young, and she is a gomiho, which means that she is a nine-tailed fox and she devours the energy of men in order to survive. One day after feeding during a full moon, she sees this young boy and he is getting attacked by a goblin, and she decides to try to save him despite her like natural instincts. And while she's doing that, she ends up losing her fox speed, which is her gomiho soul. And the boy Ji-hoon actually saw her nine tails, so he knows what she is, and he's been warned against gomiho by his grandmother. So the two of them kind of form an unlikely friendship. I imagine there's going to be some kind of romance that goes on between them. Mi-young is ultimately going to have to choose between this human boy and her immortal life. And it sounds like it's going to be amazing. I love foxes, so I'm here for this. Then the last fantasy book that I have on my TBR is A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the conclusion to the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series, and it follows Gray and another character that we met in the first book. Those are the two main perspectives in this one, and I'm really looking forward to finding out how the story is going to end and see how things are ultimately going to work out for Ren and Harper, who were our main characters of the first book. Harper actually has cerebral palsy, and I've heard really good things about the representation of it from people who have cerebral palsy themselves, so that's always like a good thing to hear, that it is an accurate representation. And yeah, I just thought the first book was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought Harper was such a great character. I loved what an impact she had on this world of Emberfall, and I really loved Gray, so I'm really looking forward to getting his perspective. And yeah, I just can't wait to read it. But this one actually doesn't come out for quite a while. It doesn't come out until January of 2020, so you guys will have to wait a little while to read it, but I just can't wait anymore. Then I have a couple of romance books and a historical fiction book that I really want to get to this month. So the first one is Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. I loved The Simple Wild so much, so I'm really anticipating this book, which comes out in August, and I obviously want to have it read before then. So this follows a girl named Piper, and she is like a high executive businesswoman, and she's constantly having to prove her worth in the male-dominated industry that she works in, and she's also working at the same company as her narcissistic ex-fiance, and she has to see him every day, which is kind of a struggle. Then she runs into a new security guard at their real estate firm, and it ends up being this guy named Kyle, who just so happens to have been the first love of her life. The two of them met when they were camp counselors over a summer, and he was kind of seen as like a guy from the wrong side of the tracks, and she's kind of excited to see him, but he apparently doesn't even remember her name. And then she realizes that she still has feelings for him, and she kind of sets out on a mission to prove that he knows who she is and to get him to admit that he might have feelings for her too. Just sounds like it's gonna be really cute, and if it's anything like The Simple Wild, I know I'm gonna love it. And I actually have plans to read this, to buddy read it with Alexa from Alexa Loves Books and Mel from Mel to the Any, but we haven't picked a date yet, but that's happening. Then I really want to read Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey for a couple of reasons. The first one being I ordered this book because I heard that it takes place in Port Jefferson on Long Island, and I'm from Long Island, so I'm obviously interested in reading any fiction that is set on Long Island. But this is a romance book, and there is a fake dating aspect to it, and I love fake dating in books. I think it is such a fun way for relationships to start, so I already had those two things going for it. It follows a girl who is a party planner for children's parties, and no one really takes her seriously, and her brother's best friend was like on track to be a Major League Baseball player, but he gets an injury, and then he gets a new job like flipping houses to try to take his mind off of like what could have been, and the two of them end up deciding to fake date to get other people to take them more seriously. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna fall in love because it's a romance book. But anyway, so I ordered it because of the Long Island thing and the fake dating thing. But then, like the day before it was delivered, Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads, Jane from It's Jane Lindsay, Madeline from Novel Inc., and Mel from Mel to the Any all started raving about this book. Like they were basically screaming about it on Goodreads, on Instagram, on like every platform ever. And now I'm even more excited to read it, so I'm picking it up like straight away. Like it literally just came in the mail today, and I'm reading it as soon as I possibly can. And they said not to let this cute cover fool you. Apparently it is quite steamy, and I'm really excited to read it. And then another romance book that I really want to read, that I've wanted to read for a while, but it has the most ridiculous cover ever in my opinion, is Nuts by Alice Clayton. The reason that I want to read this one so much is because it follows a girl who's a chef in Los Angeles, and she was kind of like a celebrity chef, and then there's this big like dairy incident that happens, and she loses her job and she moves back to New York State, to the Hudson Valley, which is my favorite place in New York. I love the Hudson Valley so much. It's so beautiful. I love like the food there. I love just everything about it. So she ends up moving back to the Hudson Valley, which is where her family is from, and she's working at her family diner, and then she meets a very handsome farmer who's into the slow food movement. And yeah, I'm really excited to read something set in the Hudson Valley. That was like the main thing that drew me in, because it wasn't the cover that drew me in, let's be real. But it's called the Hudson Valley series, and I'm hoping that I enjoy it. There are more books in the series that have equally ridiculous covers, so you will see them in future videos if I like this first one. And then lastly, I have the historical fiction book that I really want to read, and that is Park Avenue Summer by Renee Rosen. This follows a girl named Alice who is from the Midwest, but she leaves her small town and she moves to New York City, and she ends up getting a job working at Cosmopolitan alongside the first female editor-in-chief of the magazine. Alice is a photographer, so getting this job seems like the perfect way to get her foot in the door, but she is not ready for this like crazy high tension world of working in the magazine industry. And part of there are a couple of reasons why I really want to read this. The first one obviously being historical New York in the summer, also taking place within a magazine industry. I'm so interested in that because when I was younger, I actually interned at 17 magazine because I thought that I wanted to ultimately work for a magazine when I got older. Glad that I didn't end up doing that because print media is really struggling at this point, but I had such an interesting experience working at 17. I can't wait to see how Cosmopolitan in 1965 was run, because I know it's going to be insanely different, but it just sounds really interesting to me. So those are some of the books that I'm planning on reading in July. I obviously have more that I will probably get to, but these are like the main ones that I'm the most excited about at the moment that I can't wait to pick up. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, or if you're excited to read any of the books that I mentioned, because I know some of them are ARCs and haven't actually come out yet. But that's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!